Oh, that was quick today. Hi, my name is Roy Canterbury. I'm going to be hosting Arch Talk 101, and we have Donald going to be on the show with us today. But before we get to that, I'll let everybody know where you can listen to or watch the video. You can listen to it on Spotify and all the places you get your podcast from, as well as you can go to audible.com and look for Arch Talk 101 podcast and listen to it there free as well. And you can watch the video of our podcast on my YouTube channel, Learn to Fix It Yourself. And then you can also catch it on my profile. But probably the best place to go is the Arch Talk 101 Facebook group. You'll get to see it there, as well as you have a lot of other archers. We have bow techs, we have archer instructors. We have a lot of good information you can get from that group right there. So that's a good group to join so that you can get some good information. And any questions, just ask them. If you have a video you want us to take a look at your form, upload it. We'll take a look at it, review it, and give you some pointers. And we have Don here. He's going to be doing some fun stuff with us today. Don, how about if you introduce yourself and tell us a little something about you?
All righty, I'm Donald Jarrett, more widely known, I guess, with the full name Donald Devereaux Jarrett. I'm pretty involved in the outdoor industry and freelance writing, and so my, I guess I'd have to say my number one passion would be turkey hunting, and I've done a little archery turkey hunting. So, that's a start.
Yeah, how'd you get started in freelance writing for outdoors?
Well, actually, I wrote a book, and really didn't see that. I was just doing it for family and friends, just to have something kind of to give those people, and it turned into, hey, I heard you wrote a book, I want one, that kind of thing, and it just kind of spread. And uh, a local magazine here in the state of Georgia, which really is probably well, I say it's the number one magazine in the state of Georgia, called Georgia Outdoor News. They got wind of it and read it, and then they started approaching me about doing articles for them, which I've been doing for probably 22 years now. And from that, I do some writing for Mossy, and I have done some for other publications as well. So it's just, I never considered myself much of a writer, but I've learned a lot over the years.
Just by doing it, you get better at it, and
Well, you should.
and it, just start out like you did. That's something that was interesting. You just did it for fun, and next
Yeah,
thing you know, it grew into a lot more than that.
yeah, it really has. The book is in its second edition now, and I don't know how many of those things I've sold over the years, but never thought I'd sell one. I wouldn't give you a nickel for one of them, but people out there that would.
What's the name of your book?
Name of my book's Compositions of a Sickness. It's complete turkey. That's all it's about is turkey. That's majority of my writing. I'd say 99% of the writing I do is turkey hunting related. So it's a book about my own uh, personal experiences from day one up to about the first 10 or 12 years of my turkey hunting. And now I've been turkey hunting for 37 years. So it's time to write another one. I get that all the time. And actually, I've got about three other books in the works. I just have not finished them. So,
Yeah, you'll have to let us know when you have it finished, and maybe we'll have you back on and
sure.
talk about the books. And right now, you've got a book we can talk about now.
Yeah.
So, um, what's kind of the number one struggle you see turkey hunters going through?
Well, I think it's kind of a more than one thing, particularly nowadays, because when I got into turkey hunting, there was a decent amount of turkeys here where I live. None when I was growing up, but they started populating pretty well. And then I actually saw the peak of that, say around 2012, 2014, somewhere in that neighborhood, and really saw the numbers drop off. And so what new hunters are facing now is they think they want to get into it. There's so many YouTube videos and people, Penn Hody Project with Dave Owens, and a lot of these people, and they follow this and they go, yeah, that's what I want to do. And then they get out in the real world, and if you're not in a place that's got a lot of turkeys, it can be frustrating, and a lot of people give it up really quickly. the other thing is turkey's a bad dude when he wants to be, and if you can't handle the beatings you're going to take, he won't stay in it long there either. So
Yeah, that's quite a bit of information, where you just got to realize that, you're hunting. You're not going to a grocery store.
that's right. That's right. If you just want to eat one, you might do better off just go grab one at the local market. But it's been a blast for me, and it never gets old. That's everybody that knows me has heard me say that more than once. It's just I never get tired of it, and I've had my share of whippings through the years as well. But sure feels good to wrap your hands around those scaly legs every now and
Yeah, once in a while, it's always nice.
then.
So, what would you say would be probably the number one skill that you need to learn in turkey hunting?
Patience. If you can't be patient, and by patience, that's a pretty broad definition there, but it's not just about sitting in one spot and sitting there all day. It means hearing a bird gobble and being able to hang around as long as it takes to get the job done. And sometimes you're still not going to, if you think about it, people say, oh man, you kill a lot of turkeys. Well, I should have as many years and hours and days and footsteps in the woods as I've taken. Uh, and you don't do that. It's not like deer hunting. I don't even think there should be a comparison between the two. Uh, I think that pretty much anybody can go out and kill a deer. Now you can set your parameters higher and make it a tougher a challenge, like the really big bucks and that sort of stuff. It obviously takes some patience there and some skill and perseverance and determination. But same thing with turkeys. But I think if you don't have patience, you're not going to kill near as many turkeys as you would want to, provided you want to continue to have success and do it year after year. Patience is number one. I think patience has killed more turkeys than anything else.
Yeah, you're not going to get them to do something they don't want to do. That's for sure.
No, never. That turkeys will not do anything they don't want to do, and you hear that too all the time. People say, "Well, I made him do so and so and so and so," and no, you just hit on the right note. You hit the right thing at the right time, and sometimes you recognize what you did and how it came to fruition. But then there's other times that you don't have a clue. It just happened. He just showed up. But uh, I promise you, he did it because he wanted to.
Yeah, that's definitely one thing. You can't really control them, and unless you tie a string around their neck and pull them in.
Last,
But you can tie a string around their neck, you can already kill them. So other than patience, what kind of calls do you use, and when do you use them?
well, I I have when I first got into turkey hunting, the big thing was it was a almost widespread view that if you couldn't call a turkey with a mouth call, then you just weren't there yet. And I'm here to tell you that I have had more fun learning to be proficient on various types of calls and have been more successful. I believe if you're stuck on one thing and one way of doing it, you're not gonna be as successful as you could be. So I use a mouth call quite a bit, but when I first started, I was probably using a mouth call 95% of the time. And one day I was sitting there and this bird had gobbled one time, and I waited a while and called again, nothing. Waited a long time, called again, nothing. I said, he's probably gone. So just for the heck of it, I picked up a little pot call I had. I think it was probably a slate at the time, and I hit it and he hammered it. He didn't say a word in well over an hour, and I didn't say anything else. And probably 15 minutes, he was in my face. I mean, he just and the light went off, And I said, well, maybe I should kind of branch out and start learning to use more stuff and do it better. So now I probably still use a mouth call 65, 70% of the time, but the other 30% is made up of a lot of different things. I mean, I've called turkeys up with an awful lot of different things, and the end result when you squeeze the trigger and throw him over your shoulder, it doesn't matter. It's just you got it done. And if you're proficient on, I believe the more proficient you are on different various calls, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah, there's a lot, the old box calls and then the slate calls, and then they get all these other variations of the slate call with different materials and the different strikers and all kinds of different stuff. I even took uh, a part of a aluminum arrow, I mean a carbon arrow,
Yeah,
and um, just with the arrow by itself wouldn't work. But as soon as I put something on the end of it, capped it, and
yep,
now then it started working. It's like, oh, well, that's cool. You can use just about anything as long as it will, scratch across there and make a
right,
sound. And
yep, yep. There's plenty of ways to improvise, and that's another advantage of having your vest full of calls and the different kinds of calls. I get chastised quite a bit because my vest weighs probably a good 20, 22 pounds, but it's full of stuff. And so, why do you carry all that stuff, man? Why do you do that? I'm just like, because I might need that one day at some,
right,
and that has proven to be true more times than one.
yeah, my backpack when I'm, deer hunting is it seems like it weighs as much as I do sometimes, because I have knives in there. I have an extra rope in there. I have a rope with a couple hooks on the end of it if I need to use that for something. It's not really a safety rope, but it's got hooks on it so I can use it for whatever I need to. And
Yeah,
and I've got for wintertime, I've got the little boot covers that go over your boots and flashlights and water and my calls and binoculars and I've got all kinds of stuff in there besides first aid kits and stuff like that
that's
because wintertime you're out there and just your fingers being cold you can get a cut and you put something on it and I carry just all kinds of stuff uh, fire starter stuff and
right.
all kinds of stuff compass um several flashlights. I can't remember what all's in my backpack just because there's so much stuff in it.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Well, it's the old saying, you better to have it, not need it, than to need it, not have it. So,
Right. And I'm not going on any hunt trips where I might be walking for 10 miles a day,
yeah,
up and down mountains. Then I'd probably consider what I'm carrying. But most of my hunts, I'm within a couple hundred yards of the vehicle.
that's right. Yeah,
I'm not going on those long treks. So if I carry in a backpack that weighs 40 pounds for a mile, okay.
yeah,
Normally I'm not back that far, maybe a couple hundred yards,
right.
but I have everything I need. And sometimes I drive up, park in the field and, walk a couple hundred feet away and or less than that. And
Yeah.
so if need be, I can just go back to my vehicle.
Well, with deer hunting, for me, most of mine is well, I don't have a lot of land, but I've got a little property here that I live on, and I do a lot of deer hunting here, and some just up the road a little ways. And so, I'm never that far from where my stand is to my vehicle. But with turkey hunting, is a different story. I mean, I've put on quite a few miles occasionally. Uh, just depend on the situation, what it calls for. But yeah, I can be in South Dakota in those canyons and be way back in there, and you start coming out of those with that 20 pounds on your back. It's like, I need a light load.
Had to mute.
I thought it was. I
Yeah.
thought,
Yeah. That's turkeys can be quite interesting to hunt. You don't have big of a kill zone to shoot at them with you in archery.
no,
Shotgun, you got a little bit better because you have a little bit bigger pattern, but
that's big difference in the two. Used to guide, well, I still do, but I used to way back. We did a lot of archery hunting for turkeys in South Dakota, and you're going to have people going to chime in. If you're not doing it this way, you're not really doing it right, and so forth and so on. But we put a lot of our archers in blinds, particularly inexperienced ones, because we wanted them to have an opportunity to get drawn. We didn't want to educate birds. A lot of times, multiple birds would come in, but um, the shot that's most commonly heard for bow hunting for turkeys is always, as I was first getting into turkey hunting, was everybody preached the wing butt, and it is a good shot if you hit it. If you miss it, being as where it is, it's real easy to miss anything vital, and the bird could go off and just die somewhere. And finding a turkey that's been hit with a bow, wounded, is a terrible task. It's hard, but we always uh, told our guys to shoot them in the hip joint, and the hip joint would just drop them, and all the vitals in a turkey, except for the head, are high and back. So if you hit back around that hip joint and it was off a little bit, you're still hitting in those vitals. And then when the expandable body hits came about, man, you're talking about, I mean, it was just lights out. They couldn't run when you hit them in the hip joint. And of course, they can't run, they can't fly. So they got to be able to get a little air. But at one point, we were really proud of this. We had a 93% success rate in archery turkey. So
That's pretty good.
yeah. Yeah.
Especially for archery.
Yeah. Well, for a long time we were 100% gun wise, but the archery being 93% was pretty phenomenal. We just had some people that, if you couldn't get the nerves down and get that bow steady, they'd miss, and of course everybody's going to miss from time to time, I suppose. And uh, but I did a little bit myself and was able to be successful with it. But the hip joint was the place to hit for us. That's what we always liked. And I got a good friend that lives here in Georgia that's he's killed 104 with his bow, 104 turkeys. So he's got it down, and he doesn't use blind. He likes to conceal himself and do the pass by shots, and he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, that's a lot more challenging, especially if you don't have experience at doing that, because they pick up movement.
Oh gosh, so quick, and the hunt's over, and then of course there again, difference bow and shotgun, and bird walking away on alert, and he's spooked, and it's really hard to get a good bow shot then. With a shotgun, still pull it off a lot of time.
You have a little more error available to you with a shotgun because you get that nice big pattern.
Yeah,
although with an extra full choke, you don't have big pattern, but still much
yeah.
bigger than an arrow.
Yeah, well, with the chokes that are available today, and the loads and so forth, and the guns, everything's going on up. The first real turkey gun came about. It was I want to say it was the Winchester Model 97, which was in 1897 when it came out. It coincided with the first legal turkey season in the United States, which was in Texas in 1897. So I've got one of those guns, but I've never taken it turkey hunting. But it was my dad. So, but anyway, now the turkey guns and loads and chokes that you see now, it's just a matter of being too close. Sometimes, I mean, if you're shooting at 10 yards with these chokes today, you're shooting your barrel pattern is basically all what we call it. It's not. It hasn't even had time to expand. So, shooting a bird at a good ethical range, which I call 40, 45 yards in the end. But with the TSS that's come about, and the custom chokes and whatnot, there's people shooting ridiculous yardages at turkeys, and that's you hear the old argument all the time in archery or rifles or shotguns or any kind of game. If it's legal, it's fine. Well, I guess I'm not going to argue that point. I don't even want to get in that because people get crazy with that argument.
Yeah. Well, if it's legal to do, then and you feel comfortable with it, that's the thing. It might be legal to do, but you don't feel comfortable doing it. Like here in Nebraska, they on 22 caliber, you can now deer hunt with it, in like the 223s and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It has to be a certain speed and whatnot.
Right.
But I just could not, in my mind, shoot a 223 at a deer. It's just, I just don't think it's enough. Now a lot of them shoot the 243
Yeah, yeah,
at it, but it's a little bit bigger, you know, not much bigger in diameter, but it's a little bit more behind it.
yeah.
But I just, for me, I would never take mine out to deer hunt. You
No,
know,
no,
varmint hunting's a different story. If I'm going to go out deer hunt, I'm going to take my hot six.
that's right. Me too. That or something. It's the same thing with turkeys. Again, you because of the loads, this TSS is the main culprit here, and the the guns themselves with the chokes that are available. There are people killing turkeys with 410s, 28 gauge, and 20 gauges left and right. And it used to be about anybody want to hunt with was a 10 or a 12. And you can get the same. The 12s are doing what 10s were, 20s were doing what 12s used to do, and so forth and so on. But I still shoot 12 gauge.
Yeah, mine's a 12, and I do have a 20 that was my. It's interesting. It's a J.C. Higgins bolt action, bolt
Yep.
choke. I hunted with it a lot, pheasant hunting, and I never shot right away because it's full choke. I needed my pattern to get a little bit bigger, and it was a bolt action. I only got one shot anyway.
Yep.
Even though I might have 5 or 6 in the chamber, I only get one shot because you can't work the bolt quick enough to get a second shot at a pheasant. And
Right.
so I would always wait, and then I was able to drop some pretty long arches,
Yeah.
because of the full choke in there. Um, but it's kind of interesting. My grandfather mailed that U.S. mail, that shotgun to my dad when he was in Idaho.
Okay.
I have the box with the postage on it.
Well,
Mailed U.S. mail, a shotgun from Omaha to um, Glenns Ferry, Idaho.
wow. How old's the gun?
Well, we I moved back from there when I was born in 55, and so it was right in 55, 54, 55. I don't remember exactly when it was on the date on there,
Right.
but that was 70 years ago. You could just mail guns. You could order them online and get them, and you know
Right. Yeah.
now they don't even want you to have guns in the post office.
No. No. Heck, my dad, and I've got this gun as well now. He got a Browning, a BAR 30-06 in 1973. Paid roughly $300 for it, and got it through Sears and Roebuck. When it came in, and he went up there and picked it up and brought it home, and it's just times are still changing. I mean, there's change every day, and
Yeah.
some for the better, and some just for the sake of change. And I've never agreed with that.
No, back then, when I was in high school, even in the 70s, I was on a rifle team. We
Mhm.
shot 22 rifles in the basement of the high school,
Yeah, yeah,
and we'd go to different tournaments and other high schools around here, and we're carrying our 22 with us, going into the school and everything else. No big deal, and of course they weren't loaded. We
yeah,
knew you didn't have the ammo with it. You had it separately, but you still carried ammo. You could
yeah,
have very easily loaded. They're single shots, bolt
yeah,
action single shots, because we were on a rifle team. We weren't shooting, long ranges. We're shooting the 50-foot targets, and all precision. And we had 10 targets that we shot at, and there was actual 10 rings. The 9 ring was the diameter of the 22, and as a dot in the center to get 10 points, you had to hit that dot. So you couldn't beam off more than half the diameter of a 22, which is, 22 thousandths. And so if you're off more than 11 thousandths off the center, you only got 9 points.
jeez. How many times did you win?
We won quite a few times, but my best prone was like 98, 99. I forget which one it was. I never was able to get that 100 perfect shot. I'd always miss one or two would be off just
Yep.
enough. And then you go in, kneeling and then standing, and they'd seem
Yeah,
to drop about 10 points each one
sure.
up. So, um, yeah, when I got used to shooting, my steady stick is automatically with my arm, and
Yeah,
that's how I used to shoot. And I went up to Canada moose hunting, and I'm shooting with an 06 with a 4 power scope. The moose is filling maybe a third of the scope, And so it was, good 250, 300 yards away. I was on top of one mountain and it was almost up that next hill, almost the other one. So I had a nice backstop and I'm shooting standing, with my
Yeah.
elbow into my hip. And I, that's how I shot my moose standing. I don't need a steady stick. Why carry around a
Yeah.
stupid little stick when I have one built in?
Well, that's right. That's all about just like with archery. Is I've not touched my bow since the end of archery season here in Georgia last year, but my tradition ever since I started bow hunting has always been Fourth of July. When the Fourth of July gets here, then it's every day, and I still enjoy it. It can be kind of brutal down here because I mean, opening day, early part of September, and it's hot. It's like 98 degrees, and humidity's right there with it, and it takes the fun out of it the older you get. So
Yeah. Well, I'm probably not going to go outside for the next couple days because it's supposed to be like 102, 103. And here in Nebraska, we have a lot of humidity. So it actually
yep, we
feels
do.
worse because you
All
can't
right.
sweat it off.
What part of Nebraska do you live in?
On the eastern end between Omaha and Lincoln, that's where I'm at.
Okay, I've do quite a bit of hunting around Boyd and Holt counties there, around some close to proximity to the Niobrara River, and uh, trying to think of some other. That's right there near Butte, Nebraska, in that area, and then a lot up into South Dakota there in Gregory County along the Missouri Break. So familiar with your country out there, and I love it. I must. I've been going forever. I've been going out there 31, 32 years, I guess.
Oh, yeah, that's a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mostly hunt around here. Well, the one property I hunt is, I think, 3 miles from my house.
Yeah.
And the other one is a mile, and then across the highway, and I'm a mile to the highway, and then that's the field, about 80 acres.
Yep.
It's almost always most of it's in crops. There is a creek that runs through there, so there's a little bit of a bank in there, not a real high volume for deer, but
Right.
they do come through there because you see tracks, quite often, and turkeys as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the other property is one of those that you have. It's more of a corridor through, mostly at night.
Yeah.
They do come during the day sometimes.
Yeah.
It's nice about trail cameras. You can put them up and figure out,
Yeah.
okay, are they coming through the day, and what can we change to get them to come during the day? And
Well, there's another. I talked earlier about how some people jump on people when they say the wrong thing or you're doing it wrong if you're not doing these kinds of things. Every type of hunting seems like they have a shortcut now. When I started deer hunting, we had no cell phones, we had no trail cameras, we had no food plots. We just hunted food sources, bed areas in between, and day, whatever we felt was the best time to go, which was every chance we got. But now, with all the things that we have that help make it a little better, a little easier for us, and some people stand over here and criticize. If you're not shooting a longbow or a recurve, you're not a true archer. So I'm like, come on,
well, I always like to say, what's the definition of archery? A stick with a string flinging another stick.
yeah,
Does it fit that category? Then it's archery.
sounds good to me.
I tell you, prove me wrong.
Yeah,
You, you know, a
exactly.
compound is basically a stick with a bunch of wheels and stuff on, but it's a string flinging another stick.
That's
It just
right.
so happens nowadays it's normally carbon for
Yeah,
the stick. Crossbows, what is that? You've got the recurve limbs and some not compound ones, but it's basically a stick with a string flinging another stick.
yeah.
Your longbows and your recurves. What is that? A stick with a string flinging a stick. So
Hey, to each his own on those kinds of things. What you choose to use and whatever you're comfortable with, as long as you're doing it legally and making ethical shots, that I think is fine.
yeah. Well, and then nice thing about the crossbows is you can get people into the field, into archery that normally would not be able to get there or wouldn't have a desire to. Like you
Right.
take a rifle hunter that hunts for deer. Okay, here in Nebraska, you get 9 days in November and 9 days in January, and that's it. That's the only time you have to shoot a rifle. Now, muzzleloader, you got the whole month of December, but it, around here in Nebraska, it can be pretty brutal in December.
Yeah.
And well, just like now, it's going to be over 100, but there we can easily have below zero temperatures.
Sure.
And, you know, the rifle hunter that would like to get into more hunting, more deer hunting season,
Hmm.
what are they going to do? They're going to pick up archery, but maybe they don't want to go through all the learning curve it takes to shoot a compound or even longer curve, for recurve
That's right.
or longbows. So pick up a crossbow because it shoots close enough like a rifle. You hold it and shoot it like a rifle, except you have to cock it
Yeah.
and you get best with one shot instead of multiples.
Right.
With a rifle, you can get multiple shots off. Sometimes, depending on if it's a semi-auto or if it's a bolt action.
Yeah.
I prefer the bolt actions, just because I'm not going to take multiple shots anyway. Um, I got to tell you a story. When I was working at Bass Pro over here, a guy come in, the barrel was blown out,
Hmm.
just split the barrel. And come to find out, the second one he did, but he was shotgun. I think he was over. I was been only shotgun for a long time. Now they got a couple areas that you can use rifle in, but um, you shoot the saboted bullets, and you have plastic, you have fire, you have heat. You shoot one shot, your barrel's hot. You shoot another shot, and your barrel's even hotter. By the time you shoot the third one, you've got enough buildup that saboted bullet will not leave the barrel. So what he did is 3 shots, shoot, real quick, bang, 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 and the third one blew up the barrel.
Wow.
Well, if you need to shoot 3 shots that quick, you're not a very good shot anyway.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
And then come to find out, that's the second time he did that. Like you would think,
Burning
you
them.
have plastic, you have heat,
Yeah.
plastic melts, gets soft. By the time you get it, try and put your hand. If you shoot real quick 3 times with any kind of a firearm, try and put your hand on the barrel.
Yeah. Get a little warm.
It can, depending on what you're shooting, it can get really hot if you fire
Yeah.
as just as quick as you can, 3 shots. And
That's
a
right.
semi-auto, as fast as you can pull the trigger, you can get another one off.
Yeah. That's right.
Bolt action's a little bit slower, but it gets hot.
Yeah.
And you know, so I kind of got sidetracked, but I just had to think of that. It's like here's a problem with firing really quick,
Yeah.
and you get that crossbow extends their season, and now they can spend time in the field learning it, and at some time they may say, I want to try a compound because it got them into archery
Right. That's
and
right.
it got them into a longer season.
Yeah. I've seen people start that very way. I've seen people start with a compound and decide they wanted to go traditional, and ended up that route and like that. So I'm just, I got into bow hunting a long time ago and killed quite a few deer and turkeys with a compound bow. It's the only bow I've ever shot until I tore my shoulder up a couple of years ago and had to have surgery. And of course, I didn't get to bow hunt at all that year, uh, but I ended up going to a crossbow. I said I'd never shoot a crossbow. Well, if I wanted to be in the woods during that time of year, then I had to do it. Didn't have a choice. So I ended up using a crossbow for a year, and it was okay. It got me in the woods, and I
Right.
still prefer to shoot compound. But I think there's a million reasons why people go one way or the other, or do them all. But the main one I think is what you just said was just a way to be in the woods. And in states like Nebraska and other states, you can't do like you can here in Georgia. You pick up a bow in early September and hunt all the way through the middle of January, or if you want to wait till middle of October, then you can get your rifle out and hunt till the middle of January. So some states don't have that option.
Yeah. It used to be that archery closed down during rifle season, for many years.
Yep.
And here a few years ago, they allowed archers to hunt during rifle season.
Mm-hmm.
The requirement is we have to wear orange, just like the rifle hunters do. So you wouldn't want to be out there without the orange because they can't see you.
That's right.
And because some areas don't allow firearm rifle hunting for deer. We got one of the parks up here that I've hunted lots in there. Rifles aren't allowed in there. You can't shoot a rifle. So you would have to use either a shotgun. You can do that for bird stuff. And I don't know about if you use slug for deer or not. I've never checked it because I never really had a desire to do that. But you could hunt now. You can hunt during the firearm season. You don't have any rifle hunters in there because only archers they
Yeah,
don't that allow the firearm season in that area. So now you don't have to stop during that time. And that's kind of the best time for your rut.
sure.
You know, they give rifle hunters the rut
Yeah,
here in Nebraska. Now,
yeah,
one year they didn't, and I happened to be a deer check station at the time, and I seen a lot of archers bringing in some big deer because they were given the rut where the big deer are out more. And then, of course, the rifle hunters didn't like that because they had to hunt a little harder for their big deer. But
way it
but
goes.
they did, I think, 1 or 2 years, and then they went back to the normal. And that week before rifle season is kind of the best time for archery,
Uh,
because the rifle hunters aren't in there yet. They're starting to get out there moving, and
yeah,
it just kind of makes it nice. And
sure, sure it does. I think, I guess, like even here in Georgia, it's pretty much standard across the board the way I just told it. But it's also sometimes dependent on the landowner and the section of property I lease. It's not real big. It's about 500 acres, but we can only bow hunt it. We're not allowed to take a gun in there. So, you want to hunt the property, this is how you got to do it. So, bow it is, that's fine.
and that wouldn't bother me because I prefer to archery hunt,
Yeah.
with my bow, as opposed to rifle. But if it gets out there to get the meat, I have no problem using the rifle to
Yeah.
take deer.
Yeah. Well,
Oh, I've taken way more with my bow than I have on the rifle, but
yeah. Well, the only problem that I have with that lease is that we, it's really not that, it's not very conducive to bow hunting. It's a lot of pine plantation property involved in that total lease, and I mean, there's not even a tree to climb, And of course, you can hunt on blind. I just always like being out and opening up a tree. It's just how
yeah.
I've done it. But there's little pockets here and there that we hunt, and then we've got one section of it that's it's a lot of swamp property, so there's some good bow hunting opportunities in there. But we're paying lease for this this chunk of property, and really because we're restricted to bow only, a lot of it you really can't hunt it. I mean, there's plenty of places you could hunt with a rifle, but you can't with a bow. It's just not it's not feasible.
Well, and that's that going in,
Yeah, that's right.
and if you have a problem with that type of a lease, then
Just don't get
go
in the way.
somewhere else.
That's right. That's right. Yep.
Yeah, you got to be, respectful of, what the landowner
Sure.
wants,
Absolutely.
and that's how you get onto some of the good properties and do
Right.
that. And maybe later on he'll decide that, okay, I'm going to allow, um, depending on how many evidence, say, okay, I'll allow you this day, you use rifle this day,
Yeah,
and then you go out one day for a rifle and just use the archery to scout. And
that's right.
it's they're
You build a relationship, and you build relationships with landowners and people, and eventually things get more laid back. Not necessarily change their mind on
yeah.
what you hunt, but where and how and all those things get better as time goes by if you build the right relationship.
Well, if I was a landowner and I didn't personally know the person and how they hunt and everything else, I would probably restrict it to archery only because you're safer. You don't have stray bullets coming at your house and stuff until you learn how this person is, and then later on, maybe once they get comfortable, know that you're a good hunter and you're gonna be safe with the firearm, then they might let you.
Yeah, yeah,
And maybe not. Maybe he just don't want fire. He just want archery. He likes the traditional.
that's right. And that's okay too. I mean, at least we got a place to hunt, and I guess I've got between what I own and what I've got leased right here close to my house, within basically walking distance for me. I've got probably 500-600 acres, and there's only 5 of us in it, so that's fine. Especially when you're talking about archery, that nobody you can hunt a little tighter together if you need to hunt certain places. So that's a good thing about archery too. It's not like with rifle, you kind of want to be spread out better, and with archery,
Right.
not you don't have to as much, but we
Yeah,
can be.
archery, if you're 100 yards away, 150 yards away,
That's
you're not generally even going to hunt the same deer. But if you're 100 yards away with a rifle,
yeah, you were right on top of each other then.
right? Yeah. My rifle that I use is sighted in dead on at 200.
Yeah,
So
we got some really good deer out there in that neck of the woods. It's beautiful country, Nebraska, South Dakota, and I love it. And I plan to possibly do an archery hunt in South Dakota this fall, just depending on whether I can get days from my real job away in that time. I take so much of my vacation in the spring of the year that I'm very limited as when I can get off in the fall, other than off days. So
yeah,
if you're going to take a trip to Nebraska or South Dakota, you got to have more than just a couple of days.
yeah, you're gonna need a couple of days just for travel time.
That's right. Yeah, it takes me 2 hours, two days to get from my house to where I hunt normally up there, and so it's going up and hunting a day or two is not an option. It's hang in there for a while.
Yeah, if you got roughly 4 days travel time, you need to have at least 4 days hunting time, if not longer, to make it worthwhile to go.
You're right. And I've always taken majority of my vacation every year uh, in the spring of the year. Well, before I got into turkey hunting, it was more fall stuff. But if I had to pick the one thing, it would be turkey hunting, regardless of what you're shooting him with. That's the thing. I would rather turkey hunt than any of it. But so when I take vacation and go around and hunt different places, and primarily South Dakota, Nebraska, but sometimes I'll hit other states around the country, and I need a lot of time to be able to do that.
Yeah, that's true. You got to consider travel because you're not going to fly in.
Yeah, need my truck.
Yeah. What are you gonna do once you get here?
Yeah,
Rent a truck to go hunt?
and then hitchhike, I guess, drop me off at the draw down there. But um, like I say, it never gets old, so I don't mind that. Just hit the road and see what happens. It's all about the memories anyway, and there's a bunch of them out there waiting to happen yet. So I look forward to every one of them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely the nice thing about it is all the memories you get while you're out there, the adventures you go through
Sure.
and stuff like that. But so speaking of memories, what's kind of your most memorable hunt that you've been on?
Oh, good gosh, there was so many. It'd be a turkey hunt, I'm sure. I got one and a half years ago. Took a guy in to hunt a spot in South Dakota, and he was archery hunting. And so we had a blind set up, not on a roost, but by a draw that these birds like to roost in. And you being from Nebraska, you know how Miriams are real. They're notorious for roosting in the same spots. Until as the
Yeah.
season goes along, of course, they spread out a little more. But earlier in the season, when we would be doing some archery hunts, we used to do the majority of our archery hunts early on because the birds were still grouped up pretty good. So you had more opportunities and had a chance of calling something in various times of the day because there were so many in the area. But put this guy in a blind, and I walked him in, and I said, "Look, just call off and on. I'm not going to sit in the blind with you. Just call off and on. There are birds in this area all day long, and then if you kill one, give him a little time. Even if you see him, just watch him for a little bit, and then go out there and get him and come back. I'll be back and forth on the main road several times while you're out, just to see if you've walked out. But if I haven't seen you by dark, then you walk up. But let it be pitch dark before you come out, because those birds in that draw down there will almost some of them be eye level with you up here on this hill because of those big cottonwood trees. They said, okay, no problem. Well, long story short, the guy wasn't out there when I told him I'd pick him up. It's, you know how late it seems like it doesn't get dark out there till forever. And it was like 9:30 and it just had gotten good and dark. And so I rode out to get him. He wasn't there. I sat in the truck for a few minutes thinking, okay, he should be here any minute. But finally I got a little jittery. I thought, wait, and got turned around in his prairie and gone somewhere he shouldn't have. So I took off. And when I got close enough to where I thought he could hear me if he was in the blind, I whistled a couple of times and I saw a flashlight flicker way over on the tree line. I said, okay, there he is. So I walk over there to him and I looked down at his quiver and he's got no arrows in it. So it looked like he had a little action. And he said, yeah, I did. I said, well, what happened? Well, again, I'll shorten the story for you a little bit, but he missed one at 20 yards fairly early, not long after I had gone. This bird came in and he missed him at 20. And then he had another one come in, he missed at 15. And he had another one he missed around 20, 22. This went on until he's down to his last arrow. He's missed, I think, 4 birds to this point with his bow. But the deal with this guy was he was so high strung and he got so jacked up, he just he couldn't get his birds under control. Well, he's sitting in this homemade box blind thing that we had built to just stick over there and leave. And it had a little window in front of it, you know, plenty of room to draw and sit back. And it was painted black inside, so you'd disappear. And he said, I heard this bird gobble, and I called. And a few minutes later, he gobbled, and he was really close. I said, he's coming. So he said, I was trying to get my bow drawn back, and I just couldn't draw it back. I was so nervous, and I'd already missed 4 times. And he said, I finally got the bow drawn back. And he said, when I did, he said, all of a sudden this gobbler head just pops up right there, right in front of the blind, like 2 feet in front of the blind. And he said, I saw him, and I know he saw me because I'm shaking like crazy. He said, I just flung the arrow out through there somewhere. And he said, I pissed myself and I passed out. You know, woke up, it was dark. And I said, you got to be kidding me. So hey, he had a nerve problem. But it's funny because Strickland Mossy Oak was in camp at the time. And when we got back, he was out there filming for Hunt the Country. Went there, we used to do that show. And I said, you got to film this story you're about to hear. He said, oh, DJ, I done put my camera up and cleaned everything up, got the batteries on charge. And I said, okay. So we all sat down to eat, and he told this story. And I thought Cuz was going to choke to death. I mean, everyone was laughing so hard. He said, I should have filmed it. I said, I tried to tell you. But that's one of my favorite memories. And you know, all those times, even in any walk of life, it should be, but the outdoor industry, if there's one thing that I'll take home with me when it's all said and done that will have been of more value to me than anything else, is going to be the people that I've come in contact with. I've met some of the greatest people throughout from all over the country, you know, and that's been a true blessing to me. It's been that's been my favorite part of all of it, between the guiding and the working with Mossy Oak and Jeb's Chokes and Pistol Creek Outdoors and just all of those things are great. They're fantastic in their own right, and I'm very blessed to be a part of those. But the people have really made the most difference to me.
Yeah, that's kind of a common theme that, you know, all archers say the same thing. It's, you know, it's the people we meet and
Yep.
the experiences we have, and, you know, all those stories that we get to tell, and you know, just all the different things that we go through and memories that we have. And um,
That's
you know, I haven't had that kind of a problem shooting, but you know, I've had a few other problems. I had this deer come walking through one time, and it was 10 yards, easy shot. I drew back and I shot and I missed it. Like, how am I gonna miss it? So then I always carry a field tip with me, just cause,
okay.
you know, I'll draw that back and then, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And if I have a squirrel or something, I can shoot them with the field tip because it kind of impales them wherever you shoot them.
Yeah.
So I picked out a leaf. I nailed that leaf right center where it's supposed to be. And I'm thinking, it's like, what's going on? And then I happened to think, it come in. I drew back. I didn't even aim. I was
Uh,
just pointing that direction. I forgot to aim.
yeah.
And
Kind of,
then,
was it a good deer, a good buck or something?
no, it was a doe, but still,
Yeah,
it's meat I couldn't get in my freezer.
that's right. That's right.
And then so later that season, I was in a different spot, and I was like, okay, I made sure, aim and picked a spot. I shot broadhead in the ground. I heard the deer run off, and I heard it making noises like a crash or something. I get down, almost no blood on the arrow. I was like, did I make another bad shot? So I'm walking about 10 feet, and I find the blood trail. 3 months later, the blood trail was still there. It took that long. It took, about 10 feet for the blood started coming out.
Yeah.
And of course, I'd followed, the blood trail and go over it, and it crashed it. It didn't go, but maybe 20 yards.
Yeah.
But I don't like, I shoot feathers, and they weren't even really, you thought that had been soaked with blood.
Yeah.
They weren't. I was
That's
like,
right.
I don't know what it is, but I definitely hit a good spot.
Yeah. Yeah.
You kind of, it's like, I'm thinking, did I screw up another shot? No, I hadn't, but
Yeah.
it's one
Yeah.
of the things you get in there in the mind. It's like, okay, how did I mess up this shot? And you figure, oh, I forgot to aim,
Yeah.
and then this last time I forgot to aim, but yeah, other problems, but
Well, you're going to
yeah,
encounter equipment wise, you're going to have some of those moments. I've always, I call it a mental checklist and do it with turkey and deer and everything else. Pick a spot, pick a spot. And I have not done that with a bow. I've heard people tell of people that's why it was a buck fever, and people with all lever actions just ejecting shells and never pulling the trigger. Just so mesmerized, so worked up. But I hadn't tried that one yet.
I had one buck come walking in. I just got in my tree stand. Was a little bit late getting in, but just got in my tree stand. My bow's not even. It's just hanging up on the. I have one of those hangers. I was hanging on until I get everything all situated.
Hmm.
I just got in my tree stand, got everything situated. Of course, I got my safety belt on already, of course. And I grabbed my bow and I said, "Oh, here comes a deer." And then it's like, "Oh, it's a buck." Okay. I never noticed the rack after that. It come out. I'm concentrating where I want to shoot. Shot it. We haul it out. It's not to get back to my store, and it's sitting in the back of my pickup truck. And I'm sitting down on a bench in the range, so I'm actually a little bit lower than the tailgate. And I look up. There's the antlers sticking up above the truck. I never knew how big it was until it was already in my truck, checked in.
How big was he?
Probably 130s, 135s, right in that range. I never had it scored.
Yeah.
But that's the biggest buck I'd ever shot at the
I,
time. Well, still the biggest buck I ever shot. But I don't normally hunt for bucks because I want the meat.
yeah. Yeah.
So I don't, if a buck comes by, I'll take the shot.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I prefer to shoot the does.
That's the best eating.
Yeah, yeah, they are.
But all those things about the like not picking the spot and those things, those are all going in the memory bank. And I mean, I I guess I've gotten old enough where I've forgotten some of the memories, but it's a never ending supply as long as you're out there doing it. And I mean, the memories with taking my boys, them getting their first deer or their first turkey and those kinds of things. I mean, the memories that I have of my dad, uh, and he and I hunting, when I was a kid, and him pulling me through and teaching me the right way to do it. And so all those are great memories to me. And I've lived long enough now where I can't count them all. But if I sat here and just had the rest of my life to think, I could and a lot of that kind of stuff goes in these books I write that I'm working on and that kind of stuff. And a lot of them, I use to pull stuff for the articles that I write. So it is kind of funny that I can sit and I used to could sit and remember. I could tell you everything about just about every. If you told me you remember that turkey you killed at so and so, I'd go yeah, and I could tell you everything about it. Now it's like, where was that? So that's kind of sad.
Yeah, it's some of mine have gone to. Some of them stand out still, and other ones have kind of gone away. And um, I was in a car accident here a couple months ago and got a concussion, so
Yeah,
I'm still trying to get some of my memory back. And
yeah,
once in a while, I lose track where I'm talking. So if I've been talking about something and I switched subjects, um, that's still part of that trauma to my brain that I went through. And sometimes picking up words is difficult, as you may have noticed. But uh, you know, something I've experienced. Sometimes it just you never forget it.
sure. Yeah, yeah. I've got some of those that I'll never forget. But I'll never forget about the guy peeing in his pants and passing out in the blind. That kind of stands out to me. I've never
I've
been that.
never done that. I remember one time though, I was in a blind turkey hunting, and it was getting to like 9 o'clock or something like that, and we'd been there for already 3 or 4 hours because we get there early and set up, and I was tired, kind of dozing off, and all of a sudden I dozed off and I heard something go smack into the plastic decoy. It was one of the hard plastic decoys. Woke up, look, here's a coyote. Thought he had some free meal. And it's like I didn't it run off after a little bit and stopped out there and then looked at it. It's like, what's going on? So I could have got a coyote if I hadn't dozed off. But
Yeah,
that was one of those things that you don't forget. And
no, you see a lot at different times of the year out there that you wouldn't see otherwise. I'm so thankful that my life has gone in this direction and being able to get out and experience all the things I've been able to experience over the years and making those memories, of course. But you know, it just never gets old. None of it gets old. I mean, if I'm not outside, I kind of get in a pouty mood in the summertime. We're like you guys out there and some good friends I've got in various places of the state and up north, you know, get snowbound, get stuck inside in the winter. It's so cold and brutal, and you just think, well, it's kind of like that here in the summer. And I know y'all have some hot stuff up there, and like you're talking about coming up, but man, it's getting, we're hitting 92, 93, 95 here already, and it's a build, and it's what it's going to do by the end of this month, 1st of July, all the way through really through September. It's just nasty hot down here. It kind of takes the fun out of it, but you got work to do. We'll start planting food plots and that kind of stuff, which is pretty big down here, and uh, we'll start that up the end of August, 1st of September, and see what happens after that. Hope you get enough rain to get them established.
yeah. Yeah, sometimes you never know. You plant your garden, it's like, okay, do I need to water? And
Yeah,
then you get a week straight of rain,
yep.
and then you get drought, and then rain, and then drought. And uh, yeah, if you get them started, they generally do pretty good. But sometimes getting them started is and keeping them alive the first few days is can be tough.
It can be very tough. And last year we planted first part of September, and that's generally when we'll get some good rain around that time of the year, and it'll get them established pretty well. But last year we didn't get it, and our food plots were dirt till middle late October. And October is generally the driest month of the year for us down here. So, but we've been getting plenty of rain here lately. About every day we're getting showers, and already had one today, but now it's heated back up. But that's the thing down here in the South at this time of year when your days get hot and they stay hot, and these things build up throughout the day, and then in the evenings, afternoon and evenings, you'll get a thunderstorm or something pass through, give you a little drink of water.
Yeah, kind of important to have that water on plants.
Can't do without it.
No.
make it rain, then go out there and water it yourself, and you're guaranteed it'll rain after you water it. But
Yeah. Yeah, and I planted some sweet potatoes and I didn't get it watered for a couple days and it was dry and then I watered it and I think some of them aren't going to make it, but others are going to do just fine. So we'll
yeah,
just wait and see what comes up.
that's right. That's all you can do. It's a gamble with food plots. It's a gamble. Uh, yeah, you hope they make it. You spend all that time and work and money and all that in it, and I got a new tractor, so I'm looking forward to doing some plowing with that thing. So
Yeah, that'd be pretty good. I got a tiller I use in my garden, but other than that, you know, I don't have enough area for a tractor.
yeah, well, I just got a few plots that I keep, and between that and the lease that we have, and then we have a lot of trails and stuff through here on the property that I keep bush hogged, and then plant too. So I need it here. It's too much to keep up without one if I'm going to keep it.
Yeah, you've got enough land. My garden is only like a 30 by 60.
Yeah,
So it's it's not that big, a tiller does a good enough job and mulch over it. And then of course the best grass that's coming up is in the garden,
of
not the
course,
rest of the yard. So
always.
they're weeds in the garden and I want them in the yard and they're weeds to me in the garden.
That's
Something
right.
I gotta pull.
Yeah, I don't know if it works that way, but it does. Something I was going to mention when I was talking about, of course, I was talking about turkeys, but you asked me what new hunters face challenge wise. What is the toughest thing? And one of the things again is the population decline, which is seen in various places all over the country, and it's just there's something going on, but the problem you may have in your area is not the same as what I might have in mine, and so forth and so on. It could be different, and it's not any one thing. But I'm proud to say that we have an organization. It's called Turkeys for Tomorrow that is really doing a lot of great research and coming up with answers to some of these problems. And I think we need as many people on board with them as we can possibly get. So if you haven't seen Turkeys for Tomorrow, I highly encourage you to look at tft.org, turkeysfortomorrow.org, and get on there and see what we're about and do your own homework. And if you feel led to join us in this fight to try to help these turkeys, they need all the help they can get.
And what did you say that website was?
Turkeysfortomorrow.org.
I can't spell.
Welcome to my world. If I did not have spell check, I would not have written a book or an article yet.
Okay, there we go. I finally got it. It's like instead of being turkeys, it's Turkers. I put R instead of a Y, and
Truckers.
okay. Well, let me. I'm going to actually share it, and we can show it. So you should be able to see it now.
Yep, that's it.
For those listening, you'll just have to get the video to see some of the cool stuff on here. But um, yeah, let's just kind of go over this, and we'll kind of show kind of the some of the stuff on here. There's an about us,
Yep.
um, and then there's team partners. Um, here's some of the board members, and then local flocks application.
Yep. If you are interested in the flocks is, I guess for ease of terminology would be the similarity between that NWTF calls chapters. So
Oh, okay.
we're growing, and it's not going away. It's here to stay, and it's a great organization. There's super people involved with it that really care about what's going on with the turkey, and got some great supporters, and we're growing as we speak. So I highly encourage you at least check it out, give it a look over, and see if it's something that you would be interested in, and if you would wanted to start a flock somewhere in your neck of the woods, then they will help you through the process. But like I say, turkey needs all the help it can get, and you're always going to have people go, "We don't have a turkey population problem. We got plenty of turkeys here." And if you do where you are, that's great, and I'm happy for you. But I'm here to tell you, I've watched the turkeys in this area where I live, just for an example, go from fantastic to nothing. I'm talking about you can't even hear a bird. Go for a week or two and don't hear a turkey gobble, and it's turkey season. Something's wrong, and that's hard,
Right.
especially if you love it. So if you've got plenty of turkeys, then you need to do all you can to continue to have them. And unfortunately, all that's not up to man. You know, we got Mother Nature's
Right.
mean enough. She doesn't need our help to knock turkey population down. But when you've got things that you can do to help it, then that's what we need to do. So I highly encourage everybody to check that out. It's a fantastic organization, and there's always pushback. Oh, it's just another organization wanting my money. Well, I don't know if you've ever run a business, but it's hard not to. It's hard to run a business without a dollar. You got to
Right.
have do studies and research and whatever. But like I said, we're growing, and a lot of cool stuff on there. Memberships available in various ranges, depending on what you would want to do. But talk to those guys. Get on the web page. I learned of this organization a few years ago. My good friend Ron Jolly is the one that basically is his brainchild. He thought about this thing, and what can we do? What can we do to help the turkey? So here we are, and it's just like I say, it's growing, it's getting bigger and bigger, and membership's growing, and the research projects continue to spread out in different states, and trying to get some answers to some of the questions about the turkey population, and trying to not just get answers, but apply the right medicine to fix the problem.
Yeah, I know. Right at the corner, about a mile away from me, there had been, a flock of about 3 dozen, at least 3 dozen turkeys
Mm-hmm.
I'd see quite often. And then they kind of disappeared, but we'd had a major flood that flooded probably 6 feet above flood stage,
Yeah,
because it not only flooded that, but the road into where I'm at, plus the highway was flooded over. And it took out, I think the one farmer on the other side of the creek where I hunt, he probably lost 15 or 20 feet of his bank.
jeez.
It just took it away, and it took a bunch of the other land away as well, and it was flooded clear over the river, and it's or clear over the road, and it was flooded like that for quite a while. There was lots and lots of damage done with that flood,
Yeah,
and here a couple weeks ago, I finally seen some turkeys again. Not many, maybe only about a half a dozen, but
yeah,
that's a major reduction in the turkey population,
yeah,
um, on just on that. And there was, uh, a lot of it was gone. The whole farmer's field was all flooded on both sides of the road going out, both sides of the highway. It was closed down. Uh, there was just lots and lots of damage, and then the wind come through. One time we had 90-mile-an-hour winds, took out a bunch of trees, poles. We were without a power at that time for what, 5 days, running on generator.
yeah.
Fortunately, we have a generator that runs our house and and the house next door. But
Well, there's so many things that affect the turkey population, and it's nature. Mother Nature is one thing. You're not going to the mortality rate on a turkey is extremely high, and so they're not going to, you know, you've got so many things that affect successful nesting and successful brood rearing. And if they can make it to the fall and become almost the size of their mom or so forth, then there's a great chance they're good to go. But there's also, you might have a couple of years of bad hatch, and all of a sudden this great area that you had or have uh, all of a sudden in as good as it used to be, because I mean you go in there and shoot two or three gobblers off the place, and then have a couple of years in a row of bad hatch, and the next thing you know, you just don't have birds in there. But there's various reasons for bad hatches: floods, heavy rains during the hatching time, or brood rearing, start of brood rearing, and then you have other things like the predator problems that we have. Nest predators being one of the worst. Raccoons and possums and snakes and various on and on we could go. Wild hogs, which we have some areas down here that are just overrun with hogs. Well, that's not a good match for a turkey nest because they root up everything. But
Yeah.
when you get a couple of bad hatches in a row, and you don't mind how much you harvest of what you got. I always say leave some for seed. Some people don't believe in that. Oh, you can't kill off all your gobblers. Yes, you can. You certainly can. If you got five gobblers on your place and you and your buddies go out and shoot four or five, and next spring you're standing there and after a bad hatch and you don't hear any, well, it's pretty much simple math at that point. So I'm not a biologist, don't pretend to be, but I'm a hunter and I've been doing it since I was 5 years old, and I'm 61 now. So I've learned a little bit. Yeah, like I said earlier, you can't help but learn something if you pay attention some of the time.
Right. Yeah, if you don't have many the males out there, the gobblers out there, then there's nothing to fertilize the eggs. If you can't fertilize the eggs, they're not going to hatch.
Yeah. Well, they're
So
play. They got to have the gobblers in the hands, and just everybody's got their own way of doing it, management, whatever, so called. Um, I've always call myself trying to do uh, right by the animals, the wildlife, because I want to do it again next year, and so forth and so on. And I'm not going to bank on Mother Nature to automatically resupply me with everything I took out of there the year before. It's the same common. It's like we always say. Uh, it's it's you have to uh, take care of what you have if you want to use it again tomorrow. And it's the same thing as um, when you have. It's an old saying that you we don't inherit uh, turkeys from our forefathers. We borrow them from our children. So I don't want it on my shoulders that I sat back and just shot all I could shoot and never did a thing about the future, because I want them to have some of those capabilities to have the same kind of memories that I've got.
yeah, that's always something. It's kind of a fine point between like you want a gobbler, with the big beard and the big spurs, and that's the only thing you're hunting for, and maybe that's the one that's going to produce the most healthy offspring.
Yeah,
Where the jakes, it's not as desirable because they're smaller, they don't have that nice long beard and the big spurs, and but yet they're not the ones that's doing much producing yet.
right.
So there's kind of a fine point between, okay, I want this big one, I want to mount on the wall, because of the big spurs and everything else. But
Yeah,
yet that's the one that's going to produce all of them for the next year.
right.
So you
Well,
don't know.
you don't. And but the thing about it is that's how seasons have been. You've seen a lot of it. We've seen it here in Georgia and other states as well, where they've adjusted starting points of seasons, given these dominant birds, the superior genetic gobblers, if you will, opportunity to go out and breed as many hens as they can before they get their head popped, if they happen to run up on the right hunter. Um, it's not. I think the sometimes I think that social media alone has done more damage uh, than people care to admit, because it's a competition with a lot of people. And the
Yeah,
only competition you need in the turkey woods is that turkey. That's the only competition. It's not about how many of my buddies killed and I got to kill more than him and so forth and so on. It's just about going out and making a memory. Sure, we want to kill one. Who doesn't? I mean, that's why we go. But
right.
I just, it's not about numbers. Now, when I was younger, yeah, I wanted to kill them all, and I wanted to kill 100 a year if I could. That's it would have been legal to kill 100. I'd have tried my best to kill 100. I never would have hit it, but point being,
Yeah,
now it's like I don't need 100. There it goes back to that legal thing. If it's legal, you can do it. Well, yeah, I guess you can, but it's eventually and ultimately falls on the shoulders of us. Our responsibility to make a determination like, this is my property. I have control of this property and what happens on this property. I don't really have a lot of gobblers in here this year. I've got maybe two that I've found and heard and seen. And so, do I need to go out here and shoot a turkey on this property this year? Probably not. But that's up to us. It's legal. Go kill them both. State limit in Georgia's two. Go kill them both, and then you have a bad hatch and stand out there next year scratching your head, going, "I don't know where my turkeys are." You're in your freezer and on your wall. I mean, you got to draw a line sometimes and make the right decision.
yeah, you do. That's you know, but that's just all part of knowing your property
Yep.
and who else hunts it. And I
Mm-hmm.
know sometimes during deer season, if you're hunting areas that others hunt, and you don't really want to shoot the small ones, but the mentality of the rest of the people that hunt it during rifle season, you know, if it's a deer, it's shot. They don't care what size it is or nothing. It's
Yeah.
going to get shot during firearm season. And if you know that is what's going to happen anyway, then you decide, do I still want to leave it and hope it makes it, or do I want to go ahead and
Yep.
take it myself? Uh,
See
you
that,
know,
and that's a shame. When I was a kid growing up with my dad, it wasn't about size and all those things. It was just going deer hunting and the camaraderie and all, and people sharing stories and telling about the deer they saw. And now everything's a secret. Everybody's got pressure on somebody that deer's not big enough, you shouldn't have shot it, that kind of stuff. Now, me personally, my journey has taken me down a path where when I was a kid, Daddy didn't frown at me if I shot a 6 point or a 4 point or whatever. He went deer hunting. Hey, congratulations, son. That's a good deer. And that was all it was to him. We ate it. Then it got to where I'd really like to kill a really nice buck. Well, then you got to start letting some of those little dudes go. You
right?
gotta wait. And I waited and waited, and I started killing some better deer. And fortunately, I've killed some really good deer in my time, and deer that I'm proud of. But it's it's this bickering amongst each other as hunters has got to stop, and this getting on kids in particular. When they shoot something and some guy pops in there and goes, "Oh, that deer would have been a good one next year or 2 years from now." I'm like, he's a good one now to this kid, so let this kid enjoy it.
Right.
Keep your mouth shut. But you're always going to have one or two that's going to pop off and start that battle. I just ignore it. I try not to even
Yeah.
get in conversations.
Well, and I know I told mine that your first deer, I don't care what it is. If it's a deer, shoot it.
Yep.
And now for your second one, let's talk about not shooting the fawns.
Yeah.
But if your first deer is a fawn, great. That was a good, especially if you're doing archery.
Yeah.
Any deer with a bow is a good deer.
Yeah. That's right.
you know, and then if your first one is a fawn, then fine. Then now let's talk about letting the fawns walk and waiting for something else.
Yeah,
You've got one already,
that's right.
and after that, then start working for at least an adult. And for the longest time, I could not tell you if it was a fawn or an adult. I had no clue how to tell.
Yep.
And then I was watching one of those hunting shows one time, and they actually made a mistake and taught something. No, a lot of the hunting shows are just, showing off how nice a deer they shoot and stuff like that. But they taught the fact that you look at the nose and the back of the head in the relationship to the eyes. If the nose to the eyes is the same as the eyes of the back of the head, it's a fawn. The nose to to the eyes is longer on an adult. Okay, now I can look at it and tell.
Or,
So now I can tell if it's an adult or fawn because there's some it's like I could not tell and I shot it and this thing I know it's a little button buck
yeah,
because I had no clue at the time,
right,
how to tell. I
right,
had no, I was new and I didn't really know. And unlike now, when you have so many people with so much information can teach you stuff before you even go out.
yeah,
I started off, if we seen footprints in the dirt, it was a good day.
yeah, yeah. I
We didn't
remember
have to see a deer. We just had to find prints. And that
absolutely.
was a challenge at times.
Yes, it
And
was.
then it got to where, okay, I seen a deer. It might have been in the field I was driving home or something, but we
Yep,
seen a deer. Oh,
that's right.
great day. We seen a deer. And
Yep,
then you start getting now you're starting to see him. Oh, I seen him while I was in my tree stand.
yep,
And now it's like, okay, now I'm getting shots.
yep,
They're in there, and now I can start making the decision of to shoot or not. And my decision is always if it presents a shot, shoot it.
yeah,
And then as I got more experience, then I let some walk and just I didn't shoot them because they were fawns or something. And I had a little button buck come in one time, spent 10 minutes around my tree stand giving me tons of shots. I wasn't going to shoot him because he is my perfect decoy for a
yeah,
bigger buck.
yeah.
A bigger buck comes in, he's going to look and run off. And I know there's a big one coming. He'll know it before I do.
That's well, the longer you do it, you should learn. I cringe when somebody tells me they've been hunting for 15 years and they've never been successful in terms of harvest or whatever. There's a reason for that, and I'm not critiquing anybody. I'm not knocking them or saying they're terrible hunters, but if you want to get better at something, then you pay attention and you work harder to try to learn as much as you can about the animal and how you need to go about killing it. So, opportunities come and you got to make the most of them when they do. And if you don't, then that's on you. But I laugh at some people because some people tell me, "Yeah, I used to turkey hunt," and I just never did really get into it. And I'm thinking that's so Greek to me because I can't imagine my life today without turkey hunting. Now, I didn't start turkey hunting until I was 24 years old, but I would give all my deer and fishing stuff away. Just don't touch my turkey stuff. I'm not giving that until I have to. So uh, I can't imagine it being any different. But it's opened a lot of doors for me. Uh, the turkey has opened up a door for freelance writing, which has been a blast. It's I've gotten with Mossy Oak and Pistol Creek Outdoors and Jeb Shows, and those are super companies to be with and great people and when I remember when I got on with Mossy Oak, somebody said, "Well, it's big time now," and I said, "No," I said, "It doesn't make me anything special. It just makes me part of something that is." And I'm proud of those things because it's kind of it's an honor to be asked to be on these things and to be a part of them, and they're all very successful companies and part of what I do so much. So it's fun. It's been a great ride. If it ended tomorrow, I can't complain.
Yeah, and then some things like, well, man, you're lucky that all of a sudden you got this. No, you long time ago you started working at it, and it just
It
it
didn't
just
happen.
all of a sudden it seemed like overnight because nobody noticed you until this one event happened.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Um, I didn't. I never thought I'd be part of any of this kind of stuff, and I didn't seek it out. I didn't go, "Hey, can I be on this, or can I get on? Can I get on?" And it just all these things just happened when they were supposed to. Um, and I'm not ashamed or afraid to tell anybody. The Lord has blessed me immensely throughout my life, and I guess He's given me plenty of mental and physical abilities and opportunities, and not just in the woods, but in things that coincide with it that are part of the industry. I don't I don't care if if I'm ever on another one, or if these companies one day down the road, I'm sure our relationship will have to go away because I'll get so old I won't be able to do any of them. But right now, in the meantime, I want to enjoy it, and I'm very appreciative of the opportunities to work with these people.
Yeah, and I've heard several stories like yours where they start off doing something just because they like doing it, and that was something they had a passion for, and then next thing you know, something else happened. Next thing, they're where they never thought they'd have been,
Yeah,
and it's not because they went after it. It's like, well, I want to be on this show. I want to do this. I want to do this. No, they just start doing what they did. Next thing they got noticed, this happened, and then something else happened, and then something else happened, and they just kind of worked their way. Next thing you know, they're where they never thought they'd have been.
yeah.
It's like you asked me 20 years ago, would I be doing this? Like, no,
I wouldn't.
yeah, I'm not. I don't really care to do that. And next thing you know, that's where you're at.
It was never a goal for my. In fact, I didn't even want to. I had a friend of mine named Cal Marsh that got me into turkey hunting, and he aggravated me for 2 years. And I'm serious. He aggravated me. He was like, "Come on, man, we got to do it this spring." I'm like, I'm not interested. I just go bother somebody else with it. I don't care anything. Little did I know. And the first day I went to Turkey Woods hunting, I was bit. The first gobble I heard just wrapped me up and consumed me, and it's never let me go. So, but that wild turkey and the road I've gone down with it has taken me down these other paths where these other things have come to me. And like I said, I'm not anything special, and it doesn't. You know, it's I was very humbled and honored that these people would ask me to be part of what they have. But now I got a little piece of it, and I'm going to enjoy it while I can. It's been real good.
Yeah, I know. You just never know. I know there is an event that a sport that I wasn't really interested in doing, and they finally convinced me to go, and now I did it competitively, and I still do it. So,
Yeah,
um, it's I'm 70 and I've been doing it for well since high school. So,
yeah,
since probably almost 60 years now.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's part of what you do. I I don't know what I'd be doing if I wasn't doing what I'm doing in my life now. I can't imagine it any other way. But man, it's a stack of memories that when you get memories, you get so many memories, you're forgetting them. And then you've got a bunch of them. So I've been really blessed with those.
Yeah, sometimes almost need to start writing them down like you did your things,
Do it.
and it's like these are stories, and every once in a while one will pop up in your head, and
That's exactly right. Make a few
start
notes.
writing them down, and
Hey, you can
and
do it. You can do it. A lot of people have asked me, and I've thought about writing a book and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, man, do it. And well, what all's involved? And I said, nothing more is involved than you just making a few notes about something because from time to time, and you've done it too, I'm sure most of us have that spend any regular amount of time outdoors, it's going to come up and you go, man, that'd be a great story for a book right there. Or, you know, and if you'll make a note of something, go one day. Just my first book started as a journal. It was just for me, and then I said, well, maybe my kids will read this one day, and they'll say, oh, let's see what Dad did back in 1989.
yeah,
And then I was looking at some stuff one day because I had written a pretty good bit, and this was it. I didn't even have a computer. I was pen and paper, had a little composition book, and I got to looking back through there, and it was neat to me because I could remember everything like it happened yesterday. But I was thinking, nobody's going to read this crap. This is dry as a bone. So I said, do it over there. But I kept keeping notes and stuff. And then one day I said, I'm going to write this in story form, make it a little more interesting. So I started writing, wrote everything pen and paper. And then a buddy of mine, Bobby Knight, really close. We got it together, hunted all over the country together. And he said, he was over at my house and he saw these notebooks. He said, what is that? I said, that's my turkey book. That's just what I called it. He said, turkey book. Yeah. He said, can I read it? I said, you can try. I said, it's not very well put together and it's chicken scratch. They said, let me take it home and read it. Long story short, it was 2 weeks before I got it back because he read it. One of his brothers read it. His mom and his dad read it. Just what I'd written to that point. And he gave him back. He said, Mama said when you get that published, she wants a copy of that. And I was like, getting it published? She said, I let it sit there for another couple of years, just adding to it. After every spring, I'd have all these stories, to put in there. And then one day I said, I wonder what. Finally had access to a computer. I started typing the sucker up and found a company in Seattle, Washington that it was called Writers Press. And I got with them and was able. You had to do. I think they give you 10 books and it cost you, I don't know, $600-700 to do it, and then bind it for you and put it together for you and all blah blah blah. And so I said, "That's cool. I'll give my kids, my mom, my dad, my brothers, everybody get one. Give one to a couple of my buddies." And then the word got out. Hey man, I heard you wrote a book. I said, "Yeah, I want one. I don't have any." What? I said, "I can get 10." Oh, I had to have one of those. So I checked with them to see what I could get. And, depending on how many you ordered at the time, affected the price.
Yeah.
I said, well, I'll order 25 of them because I know there's that many people that want one. Well, I got them and sold those pretty quick. And I'm like, got 25 more. And the next thing you know, for some reason, I said, I'll put one on eBay and see what happens. People were just coming out of the work because I didn't realize there was as many people out there that wanted a good turkey book or a turkey book. I don't know how good mine is. Been pretty good to me. It's been pretty popular. But this guy finally retires in Seattle and shut it down. I said, well, that's it. It lasted. It was good while it lasted. And people were still asking me occasionally about this book. I thought, it's out of print. And so the guy that owns Pistol Creek Outdoors calls me one day and goes, how come I didn't know you wrote a book? And he said, I knew you wrote articles, but I didn't know you wrote a book. I said, I don't know. I guess this never came up. Well, I want one. I said, I ain't got any. He said, well, we need to fix that. So he helped me, and I got in touch with a company in Alpharetta, Georgia called Book Logics, and we did a second printing. And I just went to social media and on Facebook, I think it was, and I put out, hey, second uh, edition of my book's coming out. If anybody is interested, just let me know. Man, I just get message after message after message. Well, a few days later, 50 came, and I sold those 50 in 30 minutes. I was like, holy crap. So 50 more. And I said, I got 50 more coming. Just for those of you that didn't get in there on that first round, just let me know. A day and a half, they were gone. I was like, this is stupid. So anyway, it was pretty cool. But I do need to finish those others that I've been working on, and because I enjoy it. It's kind of like I don't know what's a good comparison, but if you're not in the mood to do it, it's probably not a good thing to do. Uh,
Right.
I've ripped up complete. I've hit the delete button on pages of stuff before because I'd go back and read it and go, this is terrible. And then get in the mood and write the same story in a different way. And it's like, yeah, okay, that's better. But I have written some stuff, like I say, I do some from Mossy Oak as well. And I did an article a couple of years ago after my dad passed away. That was a very hard time in my life, and I just kind of went in funk. I just didn't want to. I didn't care anything. It wasn't that I didn't care about people, family, friends, and whatnot. I just didn't care about doing anything. I wasn't in the mood. I just in a funk. And I looked above my television set, and I saw a picture of my dad and me with the turkey the spring before he passed away, and he was just shy 89 years old, and it was almost like I could hear him saying, "Boy, you need to get off your butt and go do something." Because I'm just sitting there. So I got up, took a walk, and when I took that walk, I started seeing things along my route of walking on our property. And everywhere I looked, I saw him or me and him hunting here. We hunted down there. We did this over here. We did that over there. All along the way, I was having these memories of things that we had done. Well, I came back in the house and sat down and wrote this article in about an hour and submitted it to Mossy Oak. And of course, they published it. It's been published several times now in different publications. But um, man, I had people calling me from that I didn't even know or sending me emails and stuff. And some of them just grown men crying. Said, man, I ain't never read anything like that in my life. That just stirred me up because they'd lost their dad. They could relate. So I've written a couple like that. It's not my goal to write something that puts somebody on their knees, but when it does, it's very humbling. It's like, wow, I didn't know it was going to have that kind of impact. So it's pretty neat.
Yeah, that's something, definitely something to think about, and I think that's kind of a good note to end this on. And um, what would you like to say to our listeners and viewers before we head out for the day and continue the rest of our day?
Well, obviously, I would think that all of the viewers, 99.99% of the viewers are hunters just like we are and enjoy creation just like we do. Uh, I encourage you to make the most of it. Don't ever take it for granted because tell people this all the time, and it's a fact that tomorrow is not promised. It's just a gift. So make the most of your gift. Get out there and have a good time. Enjoy it. Stay out of competition. It's not a competition, guys. Just go have fun. Make the best memories you can make. Take the kids. Take your wife, your girlfriend, whoever. Just take somebody. Go with your buddies, but enjoy it all, and don't have regrets of things you wish you had done differently in the outdoors because it's a one time shot. So I wish you the best.
That is true. Yeah, it's um, been quite informative, and I've got a lot out of what we talked about, and it's always interesting to talk to archers all over the world, and it's been really fun talking with you. And
I've
I know
enjoyed
we'll have more conversations later.
it.
Um, because we're just we're in the same community, and well, you have my number, I have your number, so you can always get a hold of me. And
Stay in
for
touch.
those listening or watching, if you have any questions on anything we talked about or something we didn't talk about, get a hold of us.
Yep,
We'd be glad to help you. I know I would, and I'm
absolutely.
sure Donald, you'd be glad to help anybody with any questions,
Anytime.
especially if it's turkey hunting related.
That's
You'd be the
fun.
one to go to. I don't do that much turkey hunting, but you're the expert on the turkey, so in turkey questions, direct them to you. And if you want to, um, just remember that we can listen to this podcast anytime, going out to Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcast. So it's audible.com, and go out there and listen to it. That's kind of a good way to do it because it just as new one comes out, you just get notified, and it's kind of nice that way. If you want to actually watch the video, you can go out to my YouTube channel, Learn to Fix It Yourself, as well as you can join the Arch Talk 101 Facebook group. There we have all kinds of people in there. You have questions. We have experts we have archers that have been shooting for 60, 70 years, and we have new archers and bow techs and instructors and anything you want. We've got somebody there that's done it. Get out there and join that group, and we'll help you with whatever you need. Don't have to worry about being sold to. We don't allow you to sell stuff on that site. It's an informational site, to help archers with whatever their struggles are, and we'll just keep that in mind. And I will put a link to that website you talked about,
Yes,
the
turkeys for
turkeys
tomorrow.
for tomorrow.
Yes,
I'll put a link in there so you can get to it real easy. That way you don't have to try and remember, and make sure you type it right. This will just put a link in there. And I'll put a link into the Arch Talk 101 Facebook group as well. And any questions, just let us know. It's been really great talking with you, Donald, and I'm sure we'll connect again later. And it's
absolutely.
it's been so much fun.
It has. I appreciate you having me on, Roy. It's been a great talk.
And my name is Roy Canterbury. I've been your host today on Arch Talk 101, and we'll catch you on the next one.